Please give her warm welcome. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here this morning with you. I'm super happy and honored to be here. Thank you for the introduction, for the invitation, and thank you for all of you for being here this morning. And probably it's a bit early, so thanks a lot. Opportunities and threats of AI. They told me, and I've been asked. Sorry, I'm a bit, hurt, so maybe sometimes my gesture is a bit, weird, but do not worry and do not panic. It's normal. I've been asked to talk about AI in general and about my work more precisely. And I'll probably start with my work. Not to talk about myself, it's absolutely not the intention, but I think that it's a good start, an introduction to the AI thing later on. So I'm a political scientist, and the scope of my studies, of my work, of my book, it's absolutely not about AI. It's about power. Okay? I'm not a data scientist. I'm coming from politics. And the whole idea is for me to understand how hyperspeed technologies, how tech giants are reshaping the structures of power, how they are redefining some concepts like state of law, like sovereignty. And it's like we have new stacks, new foundations of our society, of politics, of defense, of national security, defined by those new actors. And they are not only economic actors. It's not only about business models. It's not only about having super great meta platforms, offering us super experiences. It's not only about that. It's about how collecting data is political. It's about how new actors like, Elon Musk, for example, is becoming an ideological, a political, a geopolitical actor. And they're not only, fun for your daily users. They became choke points, geopolitical choke points. New tools, new ways for the US, for example, to have soft and hard power in the world. So my work is about understanding, mastering what power means in the 21st century, right? And when I say that, normally you understand that, of course, one of the system is AI systems. Another way to understand these new powers are social media, for example, or generative AI, or satellites, or submarine cables, etc. Regarding the AI topic and issue, it's not only about, how to use it, or how to use it properly, or how to use it when it comes to education, or when it comes to work and job loss, or when it comes to I don't know what. It's more about why and how AI systems are at the heart of the new geostrategic competition. How AI systems are private tools and redefining the geopolitical chessboard. How AI is splitting the world in two parts, the winners and the losers. how the third ways of Europe, of other countries, even in Asia, for example in Vietnam, can maybe imagine a way not to be completely dependent on the US or Chinese technologies. So it's about tech policy. It's about, of course, education, but not like you can understand it. I mean, how, my students can use ChatGPT not to cheat. No, it's about how we can maybe educate people and new generations to be, to have the right use in consciousness. How we can use these tools properly, right? So here is, the big picture and landscape of the issues. What I can tell you, the other thing to have in mind when we talk about AI is AI, just put here as a concept, doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything when you say AI. Because you have many AIs, you have many systems, you have many applications. And 2 years ago, we restarted talking about AI after the launch of ChatGPT by OpenAI. But if we are serious, 10 years ago, we had, the AlphaGo thing with DeepMind. And we've had the exact same debates about the end of the story, the end of history, the end of humanity, the singularity point killing us, about major and massive job loss. And 20 years ago, with the Kasparov, losing against, another AI, actually it was a machine, we had, at the end of the 90s, the same debates. The end of humanity, the end of our civilization, the end of, the employment concept, the end of everything. And every, actually, 10 years, it's like we are finding out, we are rediscovering the same eternal subject. Actually, AI doesn't mean anything because you have various systems, so it's more appropriate to talk about systems of AI or actually algorithms, because they are only algorithms at the end of the day. And second, what we're talking about, threats and opportunities, we are just talking about that in the same, issues, in the same ways, every 10 years. And AI actually, let's say as a concept, it's absolutely not new. It's a very old discipline. And the first maybe papers and scientific papers we found is, during maybe the Second World War. It was in 1943, McCulloch and Pitts trying to figure out, to think how they can translate, find a way to have a comprehensive understanding of our brain activities and neuronal activities, and to write them down in a mathematical equation. Later on, it was Alan Turing, wondering if someday a machine can maybe simulate our biological intelligence. And later on again, in 1956, it was the super famous Dartmouth conference. Right? There. You guys, have you heard about the Dartmouth conference? Yeah. And at that time, in 56, then we decided that maybe the best concept, the best word for this new discipline was maybe artificial intelligence. And then the DARPA, the great, innovation agency of the Pentagon in the US, funded a lot, this new domain. And it was not a big success. It was really not a big success until the 80s. So you see, when sometimes we talk about AI, even in the press, in the media, and we say, we sometimes have, this false idea of something magic. Actually, I think, it's not true. It's not magic. It's about mathematics. It's about psychology. It's about systems. It's about algorithms. It's about new models. And who is behind this super deep thinking? Humans. And actually, more than humans, tech giants. And more precisely, some very few tech tycoons of the Silicon Valley. They decide the vision, the biases, the values that we're going to incorporate in the models. Then you're going to have all the data scientists working on the models. So it's very subjective. And then we have the final users, us. Again, humans. So when we say it's magic, it's absolutely not magic. It's complex. It's a very complex domain. It's a very complex systems, but it's not magic. And this word of magic comes from the Silicon Valley and comes from Bill Gates, actually, because at the end of the 90s, again, he needed to develop a kind of hype around, his own business models, his own solutions. So he started saying that software is magic. And everybody was, wow. He just created a kind of wow effect. But if you just take a step back, if you deconstruct, demystify the Valley narrative, then you understand what is really AI, genuinely, with its benefits and its numerous limits. And maybe it's going to be the topic of one of our roundtable, and I'll be super happy to maybe hear your remarks, comments, and questions.
Okay, thank you. So let's start.
Ông này là ông Tùng.
Dạ.
Ông làm AI Việt Nam.
Dạ đúng rồi, thầy chỉ về thì bên này là
Có dạy bên này.
thầy làm AI director program
Ở
cho
đây.
chương trình này.
Tức là anh nghỉ AI Việt Nam rồi hay sao?
Dạ.
Anh nghỉ AI Việt Nam hay vẫn làm AI Việt Nam?
Ông đang làm ở Hudson.
Nhưng mà làm
Chương trình ngành
AI rồi. Nhưng mà Việt Nam Airlines làm sao?
không có nhà
Tài trợ hả? Nhưng mà
the instant one got it goes straight and then on the left and then got the water
AI. But we have to come to reality that it's AI is around us, and then we have to somehow cope with it. So the first case study we talking about today is exploring opportunity and risk of integrating AI in university education. So the first, I'm going to ask you the question that should AI be regulated? For example, like I know that the European have preparing the AI Act. I think come out around this year or next year. So in there they require the company to do certain things. So so should AI be regulated?
Why not? Nhưng mà Mỹ giờ là nó không
Please.
có vì thằng Elon
So
Musk
regarding the regulation, it's a very interesting question.
mà coi báo.
You mentioned the AI Act in the EU, European Union, more exactly. And yes, we have regulated the systems of AI depending on their risk level. So we've built a kind of typology of risks, super high risks and minor risks. For example, in the super high risks, you're gonna find technosurveillance tools, facial recognition, biometric solutions, etc. What can maybe come in conflict with the values, rights of the political model of Europe. And we've got a huge debate about knowing if we have to prioritize regulation, meaning values, or innovation,
Yes.
meaning competition. And I personally thought at that time that we were wrong, making or putting, this innovation versus regulation. It's like I was asking you to choose between your father or mother. Do you prefer mama or dad? I mean, it's absurd. We can, as citizens, asking for both innovation and regulation. But yes, it's very hard to find the right balance, And I think with the AI Act, we are still, hesitating. It's still not very clear. In the US, for example, in terms of regulations and regulation, we have nothing bold. It's more about soft law, And last year, the Biden administration launched an act delegating to federal agencies how to use properly their own AI systems, with a focus on national security, of course, biases, and discrimination, but with no hard law. And they work, and they are working and cooperating with who? Tech giants. And who? OpenAI, Elon Musk, Google, Microsoft, and the whole band of the valley. In China, it's another way. It's another way to apprehend the AI phenomenon. And they choose to regulate and to take back control on their tech giants in order to keep in their hands a kind of social control. So in China, it's more about how the state does not lose control over tech giants. So the conclusion of this landscape, is that we do not have one regulation. We can have as many regulations as we have of countries and intention and models. And the second conclusion of that is that we do not have a global governance of AI. And it's very worrying and it's very concerning. Because sometimes AI can be a mass destruction weapon, really, physically, military. And I'm not even talking about, for example, autonomous weapons. So, disinformation, influence. So it can be a very destructive weapon. The AI systems used for military applications. And we do not have a global governance. We are, I think, in my opinion, and I can be wrong, a kind of fragmented regulations in the world. And it's already making the big tech business sometimes a bit tricky. Because when you address, the European market, you're gonna have many regulations, but it's not the same, standards and norms in the US, it's not the same standards and norms in Asia, in Africa. So it's kind of, nightmare for them in terms of bureaucratic processes. So here is, the state of the art in terms of regulation.
So basically, you are pro or against regulation?
No, I think we do not have to choose between mother and father. We must have regulation because we just can't keep, the disruptive technologies being without any control. We have to regulate them. Regulation meaning putting limits, putting a framework, saying how we can collectively use it and for what, not why, but for what. So regulation is important. But innovation as well is important because a large part of the global competition and geostrategic competition is about AI systems. So we also need to innovate and to be, at the top of what it's doing in matters of algorithms and data gathering, etc. So it's tricky. It's not easy, and it's the job of regulators.
Well, thank you. How about you, Dr. Tai? What's your opinions about the regulation of AI?
Right, good. Yeah, thank you for the question. So imagine, okay, when I received this question, so I imagine some of the movie when we watch, so the AI world, and they create the regulation by themselves. But my opinion for now is depend on who take the responsibility. So recently we heard a lot of story just last few weeks. So one of the student he killed himself. He says yes because the guardian of the ChatGPT. Or there's the customer of the airline in Canada. So they follow the customer services online, powered by AI, and also on of the guidance, they create something new. They create a promotion. It's not exist. It doesn't exist. So that's mean. But at the end, so who responsible for this? Is the organization. It's still at the organization. So nowadays, maybe based on my observation, so the foundation is the organization who use the AI need to take the responsibility of the AI itself. So that's is first thing. The second thing is so now we are talking more about human rights. Maybe in the future, it could be the interesting. I'm not sure that's in the near future or the very long future, maybe in the movie. But maybe we hear something like AI run. But for now, I don't think it's in the upcoming future. But back to the sharing from Dr. Asma. So now the government, they start some of the foundation of the regulation. So at least the first is the responsibility of who is controlling the AI. The second is about the data and the privacy. So what's data and what's kind of level of privacy, security of data, then the organization they can apply. Because AI is just a model, but its work is only we have the data. So maybe, and even in Vietnam, so we have the Decree 13, something like GDPR in Europe, Bilibili in Singapore. We start with some data privacy. It's become the law in next 2 years. And for me, this is the foundation. The foundation of the regulation is start with data privacy, and after that, maybe is the next version is the regulation for AI.
Thank you. For myself, I totally agree with Dr. Maha. We need regulation, but we don't do that to stiffen the information. But we have to force the big guy to be responsible. So Dr. Tai talked about the data collection. I would like to follow up. Should the people who have data been collected be paid? Should the big tech company pay for their data because it's their property? Is that because at the moment the data they just collect sometimes without knowledge and they just use it. So it's about, we talk about the privacy, but we don't talk about ownership. So should they pay because they use our data to generate money at the end? So should they pay for the data collection?
Yes. So actually, they are paying for this already. They are paying for. So we have two kind of data. So we have the PII, which is more on the personal information data. It belong to the people. So for example, my name, who am I, blah blah blah. So it belongs to me. So I have the right to not provide this data to anyone, even the big guys. But the behavior of me using Chrome or browsing in the internet, so because I leverage on their platform, and I need to accept, okay, when you load some of the website, so that's the cookie, and also we need to accept, okay, I need to accept my behavior will be tracked. So, and they use this tracking data is for the redirecting. So, for example, you today we talk about AI. Maybe in next 30 minutes, you open Facebook, you see some of the advertisement about AI. Maybe some AI course or in some ways. So, but why we see this? Because the data is separate. So, my personal data, I won't share to them. And if they detect my data, personal data, maybe it's protected by the regulations. And previously, I mentioned about Decree 13, who protect the personal data. But for the transaction data, the behavior already they pay for this already. The big tech already pay for this. They not pay directly, but they pay for so for example, when we see the advertisement, and also the benefit we receive is the discount. And the merchant, when they post, they move this, they put the advertisement in front of us, they also pay for the big tech like Facebook and Google. Yes.
Okay, interesting. How about you, Asma? What do you think?
I think it's a complex and philosophical question. How much do you worth?
Okay.
How to define it? What is the value of a data? A single data? An amount of data? What kind of data? Who you're gonna pay for that? Tech giants? The state? How you do it? And what is the market of that? So it means the idea behind it is that we are, as humans, data providers. We are raw material for this new economy. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with this idea of selling a part of myself, a part of my identity, a part of my intimacy, privacy. So it's absolutely not just about, being here, producing, because data is a production. You are not just here by chance on any platform and you are just leaving data. You are producing. It's a job. So if you take the stance of, yeah, it's a job. We are working on those platforms because we are. So maybe we need a salary. It's not the same idea that selling my data. So it depends on how you grab the whole subject, the whole topic, the whole implicit issues. And we do not have the same power individually in front of tech giants. Me, Asma, I'm going to knock, knock, knock on Google's door and gonna sell my data. Gosh, it's gonna be how much? Tell me. How much? What data? So it's a collective action. My point is, you can't just alone by yourself go in and just selling your data. There's no market for it. And actually, we are already the product. We are the product. So a more maybe smart way for us collectively as humanity is to have a collective thinking of being a counterpower to those tech giants. And it's about the law. You said it perfectly. It's about our privacy, the boundaries, the limits we put to those actors and technologies. And if we have to be paid to produce data, then it has to be fair enough. We are not slaves to those platforms. And the big danger of selling your data is to be reduced to slave, to kind of new slavery. So we have to be very careful because the idea can be tempting, but when we just, dig into the concept, there are many dangers actually. Not for us, just you and me and Vietnam and France and the US. No, for us as humanity, as civilization.
Okay, thank you. So, come to the next question. I would like to know your opinions about should students allowed to use AI tools in their work? Should we ban them, or we have different level of usage of, for example? So, what's your opinion about that? It's quite important for
What kind of use?
use for their homework, their assignment.
Look, the use question about tech is not a matter of just ban it or forbidding it or just saying it's the evil. No, it's a tool, and we have to keep it as at its right place. A tool with limits, with biases, with errors, with hallucinations. So we just have to be very conscious and aware of the limits. Again, AI software are not magic. So when you are aware of how to use it properly, it means not delegate your final decision to the machine, just being always proactive in your use, checking, the output of your app, knowing that you have to add on your own imagination, creation, expertise, skills, because the other risk is that you're gonna have at the end stereotypes. ChatGPT, when you use it, if we all use it with the same prompt, at the end, we're gonna have the same answers, more or less. So it's a homogeneous outputs. And there's a paradox because we are asking you to be exceptional, not to be average. If you have some ambition, if you need to, or if you want to have a great career, if you just want to distinguish yourself from the mass, you have to be exceptional. And those tools are just average. So you can use them, of course, but in consciousness. And then add your own genius.
Okay, about you, time. The use of AI tools in terms of creativity, student innovation, and also about the academic honesty. About when they use AI, it happen to we touch to issues. So, what's your opinion about when students use AI tools and they work?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I'm assuming you asking about the Gen AI, because AI is wide, but recently we have more and more in terms of Gen AI, especially the ChatGPT, Gemini, increasing. So at KNOP, we allow all of the people. We have 300 people. We pay the Gemini's enterprise for them. So that means we allow them to use Gen AIs at work. And after a few months, so we receive the better productivity and also the better outcome in terms of work. So at the industry, so at our companies, we believe if the people can leverage on data, AI, especially for Gen AI, so it can create a better performance. So back to the academic. Just my background, I was 10 years in the university before I set up my own company. So I have some of the experience in terms of the academic. So depend. Okay, let's see the tricky question. Because why tricky question? Depend on the student and also the lecturers how they see it. So when I'm with the lecturer, I see there are different type of the student. There's some student, of course, they want to be the best. They want to take this 4 years, 3 years at the university and become the best that they can do. Whilst other students, they just finish the assessment. Just come to the university just to finish the assessment and just make sure that the teacher should not recognize this. Okay, so this is the assessment. I come, I do the assessment, and then the lecturers say, okay, you got 7 marks, you got 8 marks, that's it. And after 4 years, I graduate, I have the bachelor. So, depend. But also, so that means if the student, they use ChatGPT, and before that, they take 1 week to finish the assessment. Now, with ChatGPT, it's 5 minutes. But if the lecturer is not recognized, and also the student, they happy with this, so for me, it's okay. Why it's okay? Because it's create the challenging not only for the student but for the lecturer. So now the lecturers now they need to have more specific assessment. So the student they need more thinking instead of just create 2-3 prompts and then they get the output. So my point is, yes, if we use Gen AI, it can accelerate and it make a lot of things faster. But depend on the purpose. Depend on the purpose. So, if the purpose is we come, we finish, and you are happy with this, you continue. And if you see the opportunity, now, before that, I take 1 week to finish the assignment. And now with ChatGPT, so I take 5 minutes. So that means you still have 6 days left and more. And what you need to do within this 6 days, you can add more value into your exercise. You can add more value your assessment, and you can create a better version of your exercise. So it's still good.
So you mean that the school, the university should leave up to students to use them or not? Is that correct?
Yes. So that's my point.
So my question would be: what the integrity of the education? How we ensure the because the school have to ensure the student when they leave the university, they are able to do the job the employer asked them to do. Now, if they just rely on the AI tool, so my question would be: would they creativity will be diminished because they just rely on the tool? They don't do any creativity work. So how can that could be somehow damage the integrity of system?
Okay, so when I say the message is leave the student, they use the ChatGPT, but also there is another challenge from the education system.
So they have to catch them.
So there are two things. 20 years ago, 30 years ago when I was in the university, the assessment is very simple. Now you see the increasement in terms of the complexity, and the ask from the teacher is more and more. So if we go like this, the line here in last 20 years, now with the ChatGPT, with the Gen AI, so the teacher, the education system is need to also grow or increase the way they train, the way they give the assessment to the student. It cannot be just the 5-minute work with the prompt AI. So that's the first thing. The second thing is for sure we also have the police in any world. Why we have the police? Because it's had a lot of tools to detect your work, your output, and also maybe the same we do in the testing at the university. We can check how many percentage of this is created by the Gen AI. So for sure we have the way to detect if that's created by Gen AI or is created by themselves in terms of the student.
Yes, I agree because that at Hoa we do use Turnitin. I don't know if you heard about the system Turnitin that students when they before they submit their work to the lecturer, they have to submit to the Turnitin system to write how many percentage they've been copied without reference. And last time I checked with the Turnitin system, they already have the tool to check percentage of AI work. So that for the Gen AI, but for our student, IT student, they can now use AI tool to generate code. They can write, the Gen AI can now write code for them. So, is it acceptable if the student get AI to do the homework? They don't write the code.
You know what? I was the software engineer. And we have a lot of software engineers in the companies. So before the Gen AI, what they did, they do the same. They go to GitHub. They go to a lot of tools. They copy the code and then it's deployed. Now with Gen AI, it's just faster and it's one single place. So the behavior is not changed, it didn't change, it's just the replacement of the tool. So, but if we look from another side, it's increase the productivity. And of course, even not only generate code, but also the Gen AI can generate the test case, can generate the unit test. And if we take this opportunity, so the software engineer now is not just writing code. So they need to invest more on themselves in terms of the business analyst or the architect. How they can integrate the different line code into the making the software.
Yes, you very right that very correct that you talk about student can use Stack Overflow, GitHub to get the code, and so I would like to ask some of the faculties, lecturer. So what do you do to prevent students to do these things? So can anyone down there, any lecturer, can you answer me? How you prevent students from using the work of AI to submit for their work? Anyone? Any lecturer? That means how should we prevent the misuse of AI?
Yeah, thank you for the question. With me,
Uh-huh.
maybe I just increase awareness for students about the way to use AI, because what they learn after they finish the project is very important. It's not the result. It's the journey, and that they can use AI. ChatGPT is okay with me, but when I ask, they have to explain. This is okay with me. If they understand, it's okay.
Yeah, thank you. I have the same approach. Usually, I would do the oral presentation, ask them to do orientation, and then I ask them question. If they understand, that's okay. Because at the end, like Ms. Tan said, that very right. That at the end, the result, the important that they understand the process, understand the work, not what is they submit, but not behind it. So that's more important. So we will try. We can in oral presentation we can ask a deep question to see how much they understand the work they submit. Now, if they don't understand anything, that means they didn't do any work. So that's how we can. Of course, we have to use tools to help us, because let's say in the big class we have 100 students. We cannot read carefully, check out the mark out the misuse, but so after Hua we use like Turnitin, the tools that to check out the academic dishonesty from student. Okay, that's great. Let's move on to the next question. Talking about the students submit their work. Should they also reference on sites the work they apply AI, or in the wider context? Should like companies should mark their product like made by AI or made by ChatGPT? So, what's your opinion about that?
Yeah, why not? It can be useful to identify what type of intelligence or inintelligence has produced this or that content. It can be very interesting, not at school, of course, but also, for all the disinformation contents, deepfakes, fake news, bots. So yeah, it can be interesting, but in terms of Gen AIs, the right word of tagging content made by Gen AI, it's watermarking. I'm gonna just add a watermark to send the signal made by AI. Okay. Or identify, let's say, an AI content. But technically, you can hack it. You can hack. Every time you oppose a technical answer to a problem, it can be hacked by design. So it's not going to be perfect, first. Second, we have to be patient because we are, I think, shifting from a civilization to another. And meanwhile, our institutions, our understandings, our norms, our way to deal with those new tools and contents are a bit messy. But it's not, given that it's gonna be the future and the next standard. We are a bit, destabilized, and we are wondering how we're gonna deal with this. But at the end, I think we're gonna find the right solution on the long run. So, first answer, technical answer, yeah, why not? But it's not perfect. So, what kind of other answers we're gonna find to keep the right frontier between what is virtual, what is real, what is false, what is true. And it's very hard. Because actually, when I'm saying new civilization, it's about a hybrid one. We are going to go hybrid. Hybrid in between the worlds, virtual, real. We are talking a lot about Gen AIs, but we are just forgetting another technology coming, metaverses. And it's gonna be a seamless hybridization between, those worlds. And when it comes to education and how you're gonna, learn or access to knowledge or prepare your homework or I don't know what. It's not just about, putting a tag. It's about how we're gonna have hybrid, another mix actually, between books, going to school, and going back home with screens. And again, it's about balance, it's about regulation, and it's about norms, a new reflex actually to have. And I don't know. There's no one answer. It can't be. It's of course many answers to those new issues. So watermarking, yes, but not enough.
So naturally, yes, the student they should do this and they have to do this. And why I mention this naturally? So 30 years ago, when the student they come to the university, if we learn to write some of the algorithm, so where's the algorithm from? It's from the book. So we copy from the book, we make sure that we understand, and we put in our homework. But I agree with the teacher. So the students come to the university. It's just not just only learning how to write code. It's learn a lot of things in terms of even for the integrity and become of it's ready for joy in their future. So 30 years ago, when they do any assessment, they also put this is a reference from this book. And also in last few years, and also when the student do any thesis or any exercise, the university we have the regulation, we have the template, make sure that whatever they write in their document is must have the reference. And also what's in their word and what's in the reference. Same for AI. Now, it's more simple because they just use Gen AI as one source instead of go to the Google, search a lot of material, or go to the GitHub or a lot of place to take the information. Maybe they can reference. Okay, so in this exercise, in this homework, 80% this document I refer to AI because this is just the information, and now the 20% is my real work, where I take this information from the Gen AI and I create the output by myself. Yes, so for me, it's naturally. It's the same for last maybe a lot of year when the education system is created, and the student they learn is what's their work and what's the information they refer to.
Thank you. Các bạn sinh viên có câu hỏi nào không? Any question from the audience, please? Rồi, mời em.
Hello, for the speaker today. So I'm interested in one of the previous questions I have. The ways to reply the student bring us the AI. So I think I propose one of the ways here, like instead of changing their ways, not to use AI, we can encourage them. For example, you can think like this: when